So just to introduce myself, I'm Martin Broen. I'm a product designer. So I am a designer. I'm a fanatic of human behavior. Also technical background and business background on top of that. Used to work on the consultancy side. That means managed to work with all very cool companies from Fortune 100 to startups. Managed to land more than, I don't know, almost 300 different projects into the market, from X-ray diffractometers to tennis rackets to computers, mobile phone, consumer electronics, tabletop products, whatever it is. So when they asked me to come here and speak and try to share some piece of advice behind what it takes to land a project to the market, my thinking was about, okay, the best tool I have is prototyping. By far the best tool I have. And the comment is about when you're doing whatever, it's a startup or a very big company, whatever project you're doing, the usual advice is fail fast, fail cheap, learn, iterate. But honestly, people don't tend to do that because the different people that are working as part of the project, they're not really sharing that vision. They're not understanding how to integrate different elements for having that project successful. And that's exactly the role of prototyping into that. But I want to give you a very basic example of my job at PepsiCo as an example of that. So let me show you a video.
You must have this special. Hey, guys, hey. All I want is a Pepsi.
I happened to see this video right when I joined the company 3 years ago. And yeah, fantastic. Very funny part, Out of the Future 2, Marty McFly flies to the future, gets to a bar, asks for a Pepsi. There comes the Pepsi Perfect. The funny thing is that I saw this 3 years ago, and that future was October 21st, 2015. So I was enriched to take that into the market and say, like, to tell my team, oh, let's go and do it. So you go back, you do a couple of sketches, you go to the computer, you do a 3D model. You create a render, you show that render to your stakeholders, your marketing team, your R&D team, nothing happens. It's not real. So cool, nice, fantastic, call me when you have something. So then you go back, you go to your 3D model, you run it through your STL object or whatever technology you have, you do a 3D printed model, you put it on the table. Give me a second. So you get it there, you put it in front of the consumer, sorry, not the consumer, your marketing team, your R&D team. Yeah, nice, but it's not real. I mean, it's not appealing. It's not what I want to see. It is fantastic for the designer because we are adjusting the shape. We are understanding how it feels in the hand. We understand how we're going to be capping. We're going to understand how we're going to be looking at the shelf. When the designer sees the material, sees the reflection, sees everything. When the marketing team sees this, they don't see it. So then you evolve it, and you pay some model maker to make a nice version of it, a look-like model, not working like, just look like. And then suddenly the marketing team is like, oh yes, that's fantastic. But only then they click. But the problem is that your marketing team is saying that, your R&D team is saying, yeah, that's not real, that's not a product. That's just a model. So then you figure out, okay, fantastic, give me the right preform. So, speaking fast, give me the preform that I'm going to be able to blow it. Let's develop it with one of our vendors to the market. Let's adjust it. Let's be sure that we can blow it, that the radius will work, that we can put our product, that we can fit it in our lines. And then suddenly it's a product for them. And then you take it to the market, you feel it. Finally, luckily, we got 3.8 billion media impressions of a PR exercise. But the thing is, the lesson here is about, you all know that for doing meaningful marketing innovation, you need to be understanding what is the business, understanding what is the sweet spot between the business, the technology, and the consumer. But the truth is that they don't talk the same language. They don't sit in the same building. They don't have the same priorities and agendas. They use the completely different tools. And the problem is that you're not going to be able to bring the project ahead till you don't get all these people agreeing on what you need to be doing. Because when you see that you need to be doing whatever, a new mobile phone, every single of them will have a very different picture of what a mobile phone is and what it takes to take it to the market. Until you don't align them, you're not going to have a successful launch. And by the way, they are thinking very different ways in terms of what is a priority for that product to succeed. So the role of prototyping is exactly that. The role of prototyping is the one that will allow me to create consensus across the different stakeholders. If you want to be talking with a consumer and standing, reiterating, you don't just go empty-handed. You take something for them to react, existing products or something, but you need to have something physical. I mean, the prototype role is exactly that. It's the one that create consensus and allow the different people to discuss around a project. When they see it, when they can touch it, they can understand, they will tell you, no, you know what, it's not shiny enough, it doesn't have the code, or you know what, that's the thing, the preform will not flow. But at least they're going to be discussing about the same object, and you're going to get a reaction. Otherwise, they will just discuss in a fantastic Excel. You're not going to have your project moving. So the thing is that, what is a prototype? Because it is very, very different depending on the stage of where we are. It's very different that you're going to have a white model, that you're going to be creating a 3D printed model, that you're going to be creating a fully functional, you're going to be creating aesthetic. So in each phase of your development, you're going to use a very different tool. And that is the key. So when you're at the very beginning, and we have Marco here from Pensa, a fantastic consultancy that we use from PepsiCo here in Brooklyn. The experts will know what to use at different times. But the thing is about, if you're at the very beginning of the project and you're asking your consultant or your model making agency to do you a very nice looking like model, you're going to waste a lot of money. You have something that is shiny, that you can be able to sell something, but it's not there, it's not developed. They don't know what to do because you haven't really thought in terms of the interaction with it. So you start by creating your white models, your physical models, just in the same what you have in there. Start giving shape. If you have utilizing lead user analysis, for example, that you have the top experts in the world on a category, you put them in front of a table, you just don't talk. You get a physical thing for them to manifest how they're going to utilize it, what they're thinking. You start iterating around it. So you're going to be using probably phone because you need to modify in real time in front of that. I don't want to create one. You're going to create probably 5, 15, 20 different concepts around that. So it had to be cheap. You don't want to be wasting the money of doing 20 different concepts of a look-like model or a real prototype. And then you're going to evolve it to the second generation. Okay, now we're going to get a sense of, I understand which are the architecture. I start playing with how those components fit in space to understand that if I put my PCB in this place and I need to have the vending and the whatever it is, I'm going to have one configuration that will be affecting the user, you're going to affect the volume, will affect how you're going to assemble it, will affect how I dispose it, how I service it. And you start discussing those things with your technical team at the very beginning of the project. You don't wait to have something shiny object to discuss it. And at that point, then you decide which are your top 3 concepts, and you're going to evolve it to a harder model. When you're going to start figuring out how the display is going to be, what's going to be the size, we're going to have the button, and you can start playing with the usability. So you're going to figure out, okay, how it fits in my hands, the ergonomics. And again, you're going to still doing 2, 3 different concepts here. You want to keep them alive. You still don't know how that had to be looking like. But probably at the end of this phase, you're going to have probably just 2 of them. And then you get to a static model. This is the one that will excite your marketing team, your consumers. You're going to be able to take pictures. You're going to be able to even to take it to a fair and start getting orders while you don't have anything. Very risky if you do that, because between this stage and a pre-production run, you have probably 18 months. So you start showing this too early, you lose your clients because they're not going to be waiting for you, unless you're in Kickstarter, but different discussion. So the thing is, at this point, this is just a look-like model, nothing functioning. You're just having something that convey the visual experience they're going to be having. But in parallel to that, you need to be writing your real development. In parallel to that, you need to be getting your physical samples. The first thing you need to do is figure out what is going to be going wrong. What is the component you're really trying to innovate? Which is that element that you don't know if that's going to be moving in a proper way. You don't know if that needle will be penetrating your skin for the dialysis machine. You don't know if that piece of element will give you the precision you need to be testing that material. At that point, you create a breadboard. It means that you isolate that specific problem and you prototype that problem alone. If you have multiple problems, you put them separately and prototype it till you get them right. And that will take it by itself a couple of generations. When you have that working, then you assemble in the first PT1, in the first prototype that has all the components there. But at that point, it's a Frankenstein. It's a collage of different components in space that convey how the product should be working. But it's not looking like that at all. But at that point, you have the confidence that you have something that's going to be running. Then you take it to the second generation. By the way, in the first generation, you're going to be using a mix of mostly prototype parts, mill parts. In the second generation, the parts that you know that you can produce in a simple way, a thermoform, and casting, whatever you have, you already have in the right generation. You already have the right technology. So you have the right material. You're going to see what is going to be breaking. The thing is you're thinking in this moment, yeah, fantastic, but I don't have time for doing that. You know what? I mean, I need to get to the market in 10 months. I'm going to jump to this stage. You're going to fail. You're going to break. You're not going to flow. It's not going to assemble. You're going to have problems that are going to be very expensive to solve at that stage. So if you start jumping stages, the risk, you're just getting the risk. There's no magic bullet. You cannot figure out that you're gonna, no matter how good is the vendor, the agency, the expert that you're hiring, they cannot solve for, if they're not confident, don't do it. Because, or take the risk. Or do a couple of different projects and hope that one of those models will succeed. So in the in the first generation, you're still going to do probably two or three of them, because the design team is going to be doing one and experimenting, working, and the mechanical team is going to be another one. The electronic team is going to need another one. At the second generation, you want to have probably three of them, because you're already going to give one of them to the certification agent. Because you know what? To certify, depending what you're doing, if you certify a piece of equipment that you're going to be going to the market, it may take just a couple of months. But I'm super passionate about 3D printing, and I'm working in a food and beverage company, so I love 3D printing food. Everybody saw in the CS show a year and a half ago all the very cool 3D printers. I'm not talking about this CS, the previous one. They're not in the market yet, because FDA certification for food regulations doesn't fly in a couple of months. And they're all still, unfortunately, stuck trying to certify it. Hopefully they're going to hit the market in the next couple of months, probably all of them. At that point, you have that PT2 that starts looking real. At this point, you start combining your look like with your work like. You're having something that it works, it looks, it feels, but it's still not with the right production tool. So the material is not real. Maybe, you can certify for certain electronic component, but you will not pass a drop test. I don't know. You need to figure out what you can really do here. And then you start going your pre-production, very small production run, then you do a second production run, and only then you can really feel confident to go to the market. You can jump steps, but it's risky. So beware what you do. So my advice is figure out what we need to be testing. Again, depending on the equipment, depending on the piece of material that you're trying to produce, you need to make a different decision in terms of what is the critical thing that you need to be trying. So, typical process. Yeah, you're gonna get it through ideation, work it around, get it ideas, pause it, move it around, get it right. Then you're gonna be having your storyboard, being sure that you consider the full journey of the consumer, understanding how that works. Then you're going to take it to experiential model, understanding how the consumer is going to be interacting, what is the physical component to that. Then you're going to take it to, and this is a different subject, figure out what you need to be doing. As I was saying at that time, I realized that this was not working. I mean, this was not conveying the right communication that I need to have for a PET blow for my stakeholders. So when I done the fancy last model, that cost me probably 15 to 20K for doing an aluminum mill blow mold. So what I decided to do, and because we do a lot of packaging, is that I'm gonna be changing the way I create molds. And instead of producing the 3D printed part, I start 3D printing the mold. So I customize myself a blow molder. So instead of going to the market, trying to prototype one piece at a time, I prototype the model overnight. I put my existing preform, and I start blowing a real PET part on top of that. Again, I justify that because I do 100 bottles a year. I don't do only one. But the thing is about, you can almost rapid prototype whatever you want. You can rapid prototype the negative of what you want to be printing. You can prototype something that you can lose to replace it with the material that you want, no matter what it is. So the thing is about understand what you need to be trying and figure out what is a less expensive way that you have to try it out. 3D printed food. It's not ideal yet. This is still a Foodini version without Doritos paste, so I'm playing with how a Doritos food can look like, playing with it with many other vendors, but still not there. Hopefully we're gonna get in 1 year, we're gonna get to a very nice resolution. Experiment, co-develop with consumers, play around, and figure out how to prototype experiences. You're not selling product, you're selling experiences. So be sure what is the fastest way that you have. In our case, we had such a bigger portfolio of solutions, but what we're doing is that we created a food track that allows us to create culinary and beverage experience on the go, completely different every single time. So this is our test kitchen that we're taking on the road. That's it. Let me go shoot for the questions.
Holding the mic.
Go on.
Yeah, I'm really to know how you work with people outside of your organization.
From the design standpoint, from the development standpoint, from the certifications?
From the ideation side.
So the thing is about, in the old way of doing business for corporations was that your business team usually, or our R&D team, would read a brief, will give it out to big agencies. That's where I'm coming from. The truth is that as a big agency, you cannot understand the complexity of organization. You may meet with every single stakeholder on the project, but you're still going to be preferencing the one that give you the project. The difference is that being internal, and that's why you saw so many companies moving to internal design teams, is that we take the leadership on the project, we take the responsibility of it, and then we hire the experts and the manpower. So we are not just giving the project out, we know the expertise they have and how they complement our expertise, and that's why we hire. So we don't hire the big agency anymore. We are hiring the people that has that skill set that we're looking for. But you need to know enough to make that decision. That's the issue.
All right, just one more, since you're closing the show and the pizza has arrived. One more just to close, if we have one.
You have somebody there waving. There, you have heard them waving. Go on, Marco, don't be rude.
Thank you. This was very inspiring. So I have a few questions. One, obviously there are many variables involved. But is there a way that you would recommend for a VC-funded or pre-revenue startup, what percentage of our funding ballpark should we allocate? Obviously, it depends on what we're producing, what type of material, what type of medium we're working in. But would you suggest a ballpark? And secondly,
just one.
Oh.
Thank you very much. And so, do you happen to have any view on the question, or
investment for prototyping, or investment?
Yes. What internally? What would you to build a prototype? I guess compared to a startup, like what is a typical budget to build an internal prototype? to the extent that you can talk about this, like rough numbers.
If you have a 3D modeler, probably the MakerBot Replicator 2 third generation is 1,200.
Is that right? So just a handful of employees and...
I mean, the thing is about nowadays, with all the services that you have for 3D modeling, 3D printing, and model makers, you don't really need to do that. I mean, as much as you need what you need to be testing, ask whoever to do the prototype. You don't need to have it internally. I will highly advise to have a couple of 3D printers no matter what you're doing, because they're not only fun, they're really fast to test. But that's, I mean, two 3D printers, FDM, small ones, that's less than 5K.
Sorry. Okay. Cool. All right. On that note, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.